Hello everyone, my name is Kemalfasya and today I will be presenting to you about my research proposal that focuses on household income and the role of highest education level, which I focus on an empirical study from Indonesia, a country that I live in. To start with, Indonesia, as a developing country, continues to face challenges of income inequality and also poverty, where, as we all might understand, that education itself plays an important role in driving household welfare and also promoting economic mobility, whereby we have to also consider this education level are spread into different levels, the highest ones, the lower ones, and the middle ones. And does this higher level of education translate to better job opportunities, higher earnings, and improved living standards or not? Because people tends to be incentivized in taking higher education so that they can have a higher opportunity to in attaining better jobs and also having higher earnings. But does this imply in Indonesia as a developing countries? Does higher education translate into a better job? Does higher education translate into higher earnings and also improve living standards? Thus, I these studies aim to examine how the highest level of education affect the household income in Indonesia using data from IFLS or Indonesia Family Life Survey, which main focus of the study is to differentiate between different levels of maximum educational attainment within household, where it highlights how these differences in education contribute to income disparities, which findings would provide insights into the extent on which education can enhance household welfare and also reduce the inequality. These studies aims to raise the awareness of Indonesia's current situation and provide insights for policymakers in designing more effective intervention. For example, if high school graduate earn the same as undergraduate, several questions will arise. Are suitable jobs for university graduate not available yet in Indonesia? Or is the issue rooted in the geographical disparities, such as the difference between the rural and also the urban areas? So therefore, uh, these studies will also address this question it, as crucial for formulating policies that enhance both education outcomes and also labor market efficiencies. So I'm going to introduce you a little bit about the background, why I chose this as a topic of research. Uh, I see this education as a vital role in shaping the economic opportunities and improve household welfare, where investment in education and training are unnecessary to acquire the skills that enhance individual productivity and also employment mobility. When you attend higher education, the level of advancements that you study and also you're trained to um, do more uh, high high educated jobs. You can be distinct from other employees where you can do more jobs productively by your skill set studied in this higher level of education, which ultimately this leads to higher employment opportunities, as also highlighted by a study conducted by Becker in 1993. So therefore, the highest education attainment within household is often a key determinant of income and also living standards. So first, I'm gonna a little bit explain about Indonesia, where as a developing countries, the education has actually expanded in recent decades. With rising enrollment in both secondary and tertiary levels, Indonesia still actually remains education in Indonesia remains as a pressing issues across regions, especially between the urban and also the rural areas, and especially among the income groups, where this disparity in education attainment contributes to difference in household income, creating an ongoing gap in welfare and also opportunities. So, I see that by examining this through how the highest level of education within household affects the income, it can provide how an empirical evidence on how education shape household income distribution in Indonesia, where using that data, using the IFL's data, my hopes is this research will contribute to a deeper understanding of the importance of education as a pathway to household economic mobility and also the poverty reduction. So moving on, I will explain about the research questions. So I have one main research question and two sub question to be covered in this research. So the main research question will be, what is the effect of highest level of education attained within a household on household income in Indonesia? So with this, I will take a more specific research. I will be more specific on this to give better insight. So I add two sub questions. The first one will be, how does household income vary across different highest education level, the primary, secondary, and also the tertiary? And the second, does the effect of highest education level on household income differ between the urban and also the rural areas? So moving on, I will be explain a little bit about the literature review. So I took better several studies that is also relevant as my literature reviews, which first it explores the first study conducted by Turchinka and Starkova explores how this education affects the productivity, employability, and also earning potential, and especially highlighting how the highest level of education has the potential to affect directly or indirectly the overall income, and also how the higher level of education can improve household income situation, which this analysis is based on the relationship between the education itself and the household income in the European context. So the result is seen that it could support how the human capital theory by indicating that family and individuals alike benefit financially from investment in education. So it proves that how investing in education and can give a financial benefit in the future. So second, the majority of this empirical evidence has a concentration on how also the minimum wage affects on income distribution, and how this minimum wage in Indonesia gives a positive outcome or negative outcome towards the formal or informal sector. As you know that when the minimum wage also only applies for the formal sector jobs, where employees are more secure and they are all more covered in terms of their rights in terms of getting paid, but it doesn't actually protect these informal workers or these gig workers. So also despite focusing on wage policy rather than education, the study also shows how the effect of household income, particularly when household members have different level of education and also work experience. So I also want to give a complementary evidence from a research on poverty inequality effects of wage regulation in developing countries conducted by Surya Hadi, Widianti, Parwira, and also Sumarto, which assesses how this minimum wage adjustment influence poverty in incidents in Indonesia itself, where the findings suggest that the minimum wage benefited household at the middle of the income distribution, but had actually limited effects on the apa, poorest household, where many of whom are actually the informal employment, not which is not directly covered by the regulation actually. So it's also interesting what as this also underscores the education remaining as a critical pathway to access the formal jobs that benefited from wage protection, thereby linking this education attainment to household and also the welfare accounts. So continuing the literature review, I also take from Komola and De Mello in 2011, where the study looked at how changes in the minimum wage will affect the distribution in the formal and informal markets, as I mentioned before in the research question, where they discovered that while higher education formal workers profited from pay increase, the lower demand profits were common negative spillovers for the informal workers, which this disparity indicates how both education level and labor market segmentation impact whether household gain or lose from the wage policy itself. So, taking this all together, the studies suggest that education and wage policy jointly shape how household income and inequality. While wage regulation may protect certain groups, households with higher education are more likely to benefit, of course, because they are certain in getting these benefits. While in contrast, less educated households remain the vulnerable group in the informal sector where policy effects are actually weaker or even negative. Now, when combined, these studies imply that wage policy and education they actually work together to influence inequality and also household income because they have easier access to the formal employment itself, where households with greater levels of education are more likely to benefit and profit from wage rules, even while may it protect the particular groups. In contrast, households with lower levels of education continue to face these vulnerabilities, especially in the informal sector, where the impact of policy is either acceptable or even negative. So taking that into consideration, I use data from IFLS, which the main independent variable will be the highest level of education in household. Yeah. So the dependent variable, the outcome will be the household income, and the main independent variable is the before I explained, where the control variables will be the demographic of household size, gender, age, and also household head, where the location will be the urban and also rural areas, and the labor supply, which is the number of earners and sector of employments of formal versus informal, and the household income expenditure, and also the non-food total expenditures. So far, the data that I can find using the IFLS. So here's the OS model, the baseline. Uh, this means how the total household income, which is labeled as YH, is considered of the sum of all earners taking a natural logarithm ln YH plus 1 if zero income exists, and the EduMax in the beta 1 represents the highest education attainment in household, which can be years of schooling or categorized dummies of primary, secondary, and tertiary, and the age will be the factor of the control variables, as I have explained before here, and the demographics will be the household dependency ratio, as gender also as the dummy, and the age of household head, and the age squared of nonlinearity, where the location will be the urban dummy, and also the fixed province of the fixed effect, and the labor supply will be the number of earners, share formal versus informal employment dummies, which the assets will be the wealth, land ownership, housing quality index, and the durable good index, and the error term, of course. And next, the I will be extending also with the 2 SLS, where the EduMax is researched again, where the higher education level attained in household, the years of schooling of education category is finding the correlation between the instruments for the education itself, the distance to the nearest school. We have to also consider that the exposure to the compulsory schooling reform, and the factor of the control variables as well, and also the demographics, the household size, the dependency ratio, the gender, and also the age household head, and also location, is it in the urban or the rural areas, in the which implies the fixed effects, and the labor supply, that's the number of earners, sector employment, formal versus informal, and the asset wealth, the land ownership, housing quality, and also the durable goods. And I also will research on the province fixed effects and the error term itself. So the instruments is the distance to the nearest secondary school or in childhood, or the reform exposure to the dummies. And the second stage will be so far like that in when I will be conducting my research. So thank you. This is my so far my presentation. I hope that this research will also bring benefits towards policymaker and give a wider insight on how the highest level of education and household income is related, especially in the country I live in, Indonesia, and it could give a proper insight towards policymakers in determining what policy is proper. Does it have to be targeted towards how to also control the effects on the informal sector, and also the effects in the urban and also rural areas? Thank you.